What's going on, wrestling fans? Welcome into a special edition of Near Falls with D Hall, a wrestling podcast brought to you by Switch Custom Apparel. The man, the myth, Chris Cars over at Switch Custom Apparel. Switch Custom Apparel taking care of this t-shirts for us. Look at that beautiful t-shirt. I gave Ty one. He's leaving here with one today.
Yes, sir.
And speaking of Ty, the D2 most dominant wrestler, what's going on, man?
What's up, D Hall? Thanks for having me.
Ty McGeary, super pumped up to have him on. Obviously, we have so much to get into. I know a lot of Ty's story, but a lot of you guys don't. So we're going to talk about pretty much his whole career tonight. We're going to talk about his run at Nationals. We're going to talk about COVID. We're going to get into a bunch of stuff. So
do it.
All right, man. I'm excited too. All right. So let's start like this. First wrestling memory, right? Like it's a wrestling show. So when did you remember like your first practice? Do you have something that's stuck in your mind that you kind of go back to?
I mean, there's a lot of early memories in that OG room we had, but I remember my dad coming home from work one day and pulling up, and he said, "We're going to wrestling practice tomorrow." And I said, "What is that?" Didn't know I was getting myself into, but first practice, I just remember crying the whole entire time. Zach Hogue actually helped me get. Shout out Zach Hogue, helped me get through the practice. I didn't like it at first, but show up the next day and just kept showing up and finally enjoyed it at one point.
So that begs the question. Your dad was obviously one of your first coaches. Your dad, Justin,
Yep.
Denny.
Yep.
What was it like being in the room with those guys? Coach Bucky, what was it? Coach Bucky, shout out Bucky Waters. What was it like being in the room in the early days with those guys?
It was ruthless. I remember so many workouts, so many practices, crying. He's pushing us, yelling at us, running sprints. We would do three groups sprints for 20 minutes straight. I just remember every time going there with Jake Ely, the cooks, Peyton, everyone just battling each other every day,
Yep.
Blood, sweat, and tears. They pushed us hard, but they really grew us into who we are today. So shout out to them.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And that's kind of, you touched on my next question there. You talk about those guys. Obviously, we're going to talk a lot about the Gladiator program tonight and how that kind of morphed you. And when your brother comes over and hangs out with us for a little bit, we're going to talk about that with him too. But those guys that you're talking about, Jake Ely, the Cooks, the Waters, the Flatties, I'm sure I'm missing a few. The Alberts family, right?
Yep.
Those group of guys, you guys kind of started this little club, Gladiators. What was it like to be a part of something at its genesis off the ground?
It was really cool. Just having those guys come in from different schools. We started out, we weren't the best. I remember going to Virginia Beach the first year. We won a handful of matches. I don't think we won a single team match, but just being in the room with everyone day after day, year after year, and just we got better year after year. And eventually going to Virginia Beach, my junior year, I think we took top 8 in the country. So it's cool to see, year after year improving. We were together from the beginning. We weren't recruiting guys, but we were just the core OG Gladiators.
Yeah,
so it was cool.
So obviously you're talking about finishing like nationally pretty high, like as a squad for Gladiators. You had to have been pretty good. And obviously you had success. We're going to talk about that along the way. Was there a turning point in your youth career where you kind of focused like on wrestling? I know that you played football in the past and did other things of that nature. Was there kind of a point that you remember that stuck in your mind that was like, this is my sport?
When it was wrestling season, I loved wrestling. When it was football season, I loved wrestling. I just love, I love football.
See, that tells your true story right there, Ty.
Yeah, I just love competing. But I remember just coming up short. I think I was 8 years old, first time going to states, losing the semis, and after that, I wanted to win a state championship. So that kind of flipped the switch in my head. I knew every day I had to, sacrifice things. I had to get up early and work out, and I put everything into becoming a state champion, which never happened. But then it was on to nationals. But
yeah,
that flip switched when I was little, and it stayed flipped.
For sure. And that brings us into our next topic, right? We'll talk about you talk about all those guys that you kind of grinded with through the youth years. You get to high school. What was it like meeting Torque for the first time?
I was definitely intimidated. I remember my dad talking about him, everybody talking about him. I was intimidated by him, but he was one of the best coaches I ever had, and just very welcoming. Just great to have in your corner. Just the summers, the endless time and effort he put into us. Very thankful for that. And just very helpful. Like middle of a match, you look over in the corner. Some coaches don't know what to tell you. Coach Tark, he'll tell you reach left, shoot right, and you do it, and you
Yeah.
get a takedown. You're like, wow, that was easy.
So like, there's a few guys in the Whippeal. I'm not going to mention any names. Kaz, shout out. I know you're listening and watching. But the Tark effect. Do you think that's a real thing?
Definitely.
I love that.
There's times in a match where I'm panicking. I look over in the corner and he's completely calm. And it helps calm you down. And he tells you exactly what to do. And 99% of the time it's going to work because he knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So let's talk about your career a little bit, man. You take, what was it, your sophomore year? Mark Ivana, check on this for me. But your sophomore year, what did you end up finishing in the Whippeal? Well, your freshman year, you didn't make it. I know that. But your sophomore year, you're really close, right?
Sophomore year, I think I went 2-2 or something. I think I was a match or two away. Whippeal's just tough overall.
But about that tournament. What's that like? And you were, somewhat of a bigger freshman, sophomore. What was it like stepping into those weight classes with like grown men? And the Whippeal's tough.
There's just endless hammers. Your first match the Whippeal and you have someone tough. But it's one of the toughest tournaments in the country. Even when I qualified my junior year, I think I'd beat kid who placed at states the year before, just to make it. And it's nerve wracking because you could not be going to states, but top 5 from the Whippeal could place at states. So
Yeah,
just getting through that tournament, it's really tough, but it kind of builds you mentally. You make it to that tournament, you go to states, and you can win the thing. So.
is that how you feel like when you get out of the Whippeal? Like, is that a mental thing? I know, like, I've interviewed a bunch of guys. They're like, if you get out of Whippeal, you're like, oh, I'm not guaranteed to stay mental. You still got to show up, do your thing. But like, just the toughness that is the Whippeal just prepares you ultimately for the state championships.
Yeah, you kind of have that chip on your shoulder. You made it out of the Whippeal, so you're gonna do good things at the state tournament. So definitely for sure.
Nice. All right, man. So your junior year, you sneak into the state tournament, right? And this was at this time. I'm watching you from afar. I'm like doing my thing, working, and you go on this improbable run to the semis.
Yeah.
Talk about that run, getting to the semis, just kind of knocking off a couple guys. Really, you weren't supposed to.
Yeah. I took 4th in Whippeal, so didn't get a very good seed. I mean, for myself, I was expecting a lot. A lot of people weren't expecting much of me. It's tough going to the Giant Center for the first time. A lot of nerves. I remember my first match. I took the kid down, 30 seconds left, and it was tied. And I hate top wrestling, so I cut him right away. Coach Tark's freaking out in the corner. End up taking the dude down with like 10 seconds left to win.
So wait, you cut him and you were down by 1 after you cut him?
Yeah, with 30 seconds left.
You thought no chance you're holding him down in 30 seconds.
I hate top. So I was like, I knew the kid was tired. So cut him, took him down, won the match. I remember first thing I walked off the mat, I was like, I'm so sorry, Coach Tark. Like, that was terrible. He was a little angry at me, but he's like, it's okay. Like, you got the win. Let's on to the next match.
Right.
And that's when I had one of the top 4 seeds from Becca. And, I knew I could win. So I went out there battling. And I just said I hated top, but that was the only match I can remember where I actually rode someone out.
Yeah.
Went to overtime on a leg. I think I got to his like 6 different times, bunch of stalemates. Ended up pulling out in overtime, and it was crazy. I was so pumped after that match. That only lasted probably an hour until you're getting ready for your quarterfinal match.
Right.
You win that, you're a medalist. So the nerves came back.
So talk about the Hershey tournament. It's a 3-day deal, right? You show up on well, no, it's more, right? You show up on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, right? It's kind of a grind. You got to make weight all 3 days, right?
Yeah, I was cutting a lot of weight that year. That was the hardest 4 days of my life probably. It was tough.
Yeah.
Just mentally, all the close matches I had,
Yeah.
cutting weight. I remember getting a pizza afterwards, and it was just so relaxing, just being able to eat and relax with the state medal. But it was a cool experience.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. So you move on to your senior year. New coach takes over, Aaron McKinney, who we're
Yep.
all familiar with, close friend of all of us, close friend of mine. What was it like taking him taking over? Obviously, it's tough watching Tark go. We all know the
Very
reasons
tough.
why. But what was it like watching Tark leave and Aaron come in?
It was definitely tough. Some things I get used to. Just different practices, different things to get used to. But Aaron's a great coach. I was lucky to have him my senior year. So I mean, I remember my dad telling me, he's like, I'm calling Aaron. You need a coach, so I'm calling Aaron. I'm like, he lives 2 hours away. He's not coaching me. Month later, he tells me, yeah, Aaron's in. He's your coach for your senior year. I was like, all right, bet. So it was awesome having him in my corner my senior year.
Yeah.
Wish it ended better, but just lucky.
Shout out Rocky McGeary. It sounds like you're the reason why Aaron's home. So
I think
shout
so.
out Rocky. I love that. Big Rock.
Definitely it could have ended better, but just thankful for the opportunity.
No doubt. No doubt. So yeah, you fall a little bit short. You end up committing to UPJ. I assume that was like a part of the process of Jake Healy going there.
Yeah, for sure. Ramagang.
Yeah, Ramagang. Right. What was that? Christian school, right?
Yeah, Christian school. I went until I was in 2nd grade. I think he ended up going until 7th. But we grew up. We met each other there.
Yeah.
So followed him to UPJ. We were roommates there. Had a fun freshman year. Just wasn't really the fit for me. A little too far from home. Not the right team atmosphere. So just wasn't really right for me. So I knew I had to make some changes.
Right. So you end up at West Lib a year and a half later or so. And I talked about this with Connor Craig on our podcast with him, or my podcast with him rather. He was like, I pretty much texted Tyler, like, I need you over here. Like, I need you here. I need you to be my practice partner. Is that the case?
It was. I remember I was in between West Lib, Waynesburg. I remember I left after semester UPJ, so I left Connor. I was his practice partner. I thought he was angry at me. I get a message from him saying, listen, like, I didn't like UPJ either. Like, let's go to West Lib. And I was like, you know what? That sounds pretty good. So decided eventually to go to West Liberty with Connor and Ty Warner and Cole Leia.
And you had some Garrett Cook was there at the time, right?
Yeah, that was a big part of it. Garrett, Alec, Jordan.
Yeah.
Jordan just committed, so I knew I'd fit right in. So decided to go to West Liberty.
Yeah. Yeah. And then obviously, it ends up being the right fit for you. What was it like reunite? Well, you never really were on a high school team with like Alec, with Garrett, with Jordan. Well, you were with Jordan, I'm sorry, there. But what was it like being with those guys and kind of forming a team down in and it's kind of like Gladiator South down there, West Liberty. I know Coach Irwin loves that.
Yeah. He keeps asking me, who's the next Gladiator we need to recruit.
Right.
But it's definitely cool, growing up wrestling with them over the summer. We didn't go to the same school, so we never really were on like the same high school team. So it was just cool to experience West Lib with them and be on the same team as them and kind of grind in the room together with them. So
no doubt. All right, so my next question's a bit of a loaded question. Shout out Justin Waters. I had him think of a couple good ones, and he, in true Justin Waters fashion,
they should be good then.
Delivered some absolute hammers. So here's the first one he has for you.
Let's do it.
You've always been a really talented wrestler, but it seems like things never went your way at Whippios or the state tournament. You come out of high school and go off to college. The first stop wasn't the best fit for you, as we just discussed. Move on to West Liberty and obviously experience great success after all these years of knocking on the door of greatness. Was there any time before you broke through that you just thought to yourself, this isn't worth it? All this heartbreak is too much. I'm done with this sport.
Yeah, I've thought that a lot of times, especially coming out of high school with getting that state medal my junior year. I was obviously always wanting to go D1. Didn't do any good my senior year and really wasn't getting a lot of offers. So part of me, I was disappointed. With the sport comes a lot of disappointment, but it only lasts for so long until you get that itch again, and you get
Yeah.
that drive where either you can quit or you can buckle down and make some changes and keep going, because eventually, if you keep knocking, success is gonna let you in. So yeah, I'd say there's a
And it
lot
was
of
it was even more prolonged than that, Ty. I mean, that's a great response, but to feed off that question from Justin, and I'm going to add my question onto that. You had like a whole barrier year on top of getting there, which was COVID, and we'll bring that into the conversation. What was it like trying to achieve your dreams and worrying about wearing a mask while you're working out?
it was tough. We were wearing masks outside doing cardio in the sun. We wore masks wrestling. Um, we were wrestling each other. We had certain pods we had to be in. A lot of schools were shutting down, but we were wrestling with each other. We had dual meets against each other for the first semester, and it was grueling. Just wrestling the same guys over and over. I think that kind of helped with our success at West Liberty, but with COVID, it was tough. We started competing, I think, in January or February, so we didn't have very many matches leading up to regionals.
Yeah.
But those couple months were very grueling. We were still making weight, we were still wrestling each other. I remember Connor Craig was beating me up every day. By the time we got to the weekend, I was wrestling someone else. I feel like I could barely even wrestle because, 6 days before that, I'm drilling with Connor. But so it was tough, but I think it kind of led to my success in the future.
Yeah. So that year you take third, right? Or what was it? It was a little bit of a different process that
Yeah,
year.
usually it's top 3 in the region go.
Right.
With COVID, they only decided to take 2, and then they got to pick some guys to go.
Right.
I took third and ended up not getting picked for some reason.
Trash.
The national bracket had 11 kids. I think
Mm.
someone was an automatic All-American,
Yeah.
which was
No
kind
good.
of stupid, but I had a chance to go and I didn't capitalize on it. So
Yeah.
I had a chip on my shoulder after that. Wanted to come back and qualify for sure the next year.
Brings me to my next Justin Waters question. In 2022, you were a man on a mission to win a national championship. You made a commitment to someone, and they relayed the story to me that you were going to spend 1 year doing every single thing right to be a national champion. You had a great year, but came up just short, finishing third in the nation that year. Did you ever question yourself that maybe you couldn't win in all those dark moments of reflection that all the champions go through as they fall short?
Um, that's a tough question.
Shout
I
out J Dub. That's good.
I do believe I did everything right that year. I felt great going in nationals. I felt great going in regionals. Had a great regional tournament. And then you did everything right, but some things just don't happen your way. And took a tough loss in the quarters. Um, but I knew I wanted to be an All American. I knew I could. But I really didn't want to be at the bottom of that podium. I wanted, I really wanted to come back and take third. So kind of going through the bracket.
Where did that mentality come from? Sorry. Like the next best thing, kind of like you didn't want to place, just place. Like some guys are like, I just want to get on the podium. I just want to be an
Yeah.
All American. You're like, I need third.
I know that's tough. I just always picture myself, looking myself in the mirror after a tournament and thinking like, obviously, if I come back and take third, I'm gonna feel a lot better. I'm gonna go look at myself in the mirror if I just kind of give up and just settle for All American. So, won my first one, and then from there, guys are just dropping from the winners bracket, and it's round after round, so you don't really get much of a break. So I knew
Yep.
I was coming off a win, they were coming off a loss. I was gonna go out there and just battle from the beginning. So I was very fortunate. All the glory to God. Just coming through the backside and having the 1 seed for third and fourth. Get locking up a cradle at the end.
Yeah.
Don't even remember much of that match. There's so many nerves, but taking third, and that was kind of the best I've ever felt after a season. I I think I lost 2 matches that year.
Yeah, you take
Came up
third, you get a
short,
little
but
emotion out of you. I'm watching the match on my phone.
I
You go
know
nuts. I don't ever see you do
that
that,
was the
dude.
first time I ever did that.
No. I
And
lie. I lie. When you get a birdie on the golf course, I
okay,
do
yeah,
see a little emotion out
a little
of
bit
that.
of that, but
Yeah.
in wrestling, I usually don't show very much emotion. But it's different. Growing up in high school, um, not very much of a team aspect. We didn't have the best team,
Mhm.
but with West Liberty, Connor Craig, Cole Leia, Ty Warner, they're all out there scoring points, trying to get a team trophy. So it makes you really want to go out there and perform. We had the best fan base there. You know, they're chanting my name and everything, and it was just cool to show up and perform for them and get those team points for the team and eventually get that team trophy. So yeah,
Yeah.
I was showing some emotion at the end there.
Love that. So you bring those guys up, Ty Warner, Connor Craig, Colea, sure, a number of other guys that I'm missing. Obviously in the next year you kind of get to where we're going to get to. We're going to talk about that. But what did you take from those guys? Obviously you had another year with Colea, but Connor Craig, Ty Warner, what did you take from those guys before they left?
You know, they're just winners. They go out there with the attitude that they're the best out there and they're gonna win no matter what. So just being around them, it kind of rubbed off on me that, you know, I practice with Connor Craig every day. Everyone I wrestled, Connor Craig would beat. So if I could wrestle with him, I can wrestle with anyone. And just giving you that confidence, you can go out there and wrestle with everyone, especially him being a weight above me. You know, there's no one stronger than him. I mean, he's deadlifting like 600 pounds for reps. So I knew I can go out there and wrestle with anyone at 174 that year.
Love that. All right, turn the page. Move on to the next year. That summer, I believe, we're golfing at one of the golf outings. I can't remember which one, but you mentioned to me that you meet a young lady and you start dating this young lady. And this is news to me because Ty McGeary is the most focused individual I've ever met in my life, always focused on the goal.
Yeah.
But you meet a young lady and she seems like one of the best things that ever happened to you. Talk about your relationship.
I mean, you knew me before. She must be something special.
Yeah.
If I'm posting about her on Instagram and stuff. But
Right. Yeah.
shout out Rocky, Hannah and Alec for setting us up. But you know, she's something special. I'm lucky to have her in my life. She's very supportive. She didn't even know what wrestling was. She didn't know if I was good or anything. And you know, she was showing up to my first match. I remember at UPJ, and I'm trying to tell her, I'm like this kid's good. Like I'm gonna have a close match. She's like, no, like you'll be fine. And it comes down to overtime. And I was talking to her after. She gets very nervous, so she like picks her nails and stuff. And she's like, that was crazy. She's like, I was so nervous. I was like, yeah, just wait till nationals because it's gonna get way worse. But she's awesome. So supportive.
Yeah.
Every weekend, driving. I remember she drove 4 hours for the one tournament. But you know, I love her. She's just best thing that's ever happened to me.
Good stuff, brother. Good stuff indeed. All right, moving on to this year. This is kind of where it was like a weird year, right? I'm getting text updates from you. I'm getting text updates from Jordan, Justin. Your ankle's banged up. You got mono.
Yeah.
Tough year. What was it like grinding through that?
Well, it was tough because I remember beginning of the year, I felt amazing. Felt really strong for 184. Wasn't getting tired, just scoring points. Ended up getting sick for a couple weeks. Didn't know what it was. Actually, it started with I had MRSA at the beginning of the year. Forgot about that. Was sick for a couple weeks. Didn't want to tell anyone. Just kept practicing. Um, I had mono. I found out a couple weeks later, but I was wrestling with it and ended up hurting my ankle. So, you know, I took the whole winter break off with mono, with my ankle resting it up, and then came back from that, try to get ready for national duels. Didn't happen. And they said, you know, it's not worth it. We're just gonna take a month or two off. So it was hard because, you know, you lose your conditioning, you lose your strength a little bit. Definitely probably should have lifted more, but it was it was hard for me to come back from that. I remember my first match back, MECs,
Yeah.
definitely tired. Didn't feel as strong. Had to tape my ankle every single day, and just working with the flexibility of that.
Yeah.
I sit on my laces when I'm on bottom. Couldn't really do that 100%. My finish just felt a little weird, but just working through that week after week, trying to put the time in. And then, you know, 2 weeks later, I think I had some sort of sickness. Came into practice. I remember I was wrestling Coach Hatch, and I was like, you know, I'm not feeling the best today. He's like, that's a fine. Like, we'll go as far as you want. Like, just tell me like when it's enough. We're wrestling live, and I'm not the one to say like I'm getting tired, so I wasn't saying
Right.
anything. We do a group of 3, and um, I think it's me, Keaton, and Coach Hatch. And I knew I already wrestled once. I was with Coach Hatch. I was like, I need to get a takedown. If I don't, he's gonna be on top of me, and I'm gonna start hyperventilating because I'm so tired. But so he getting a scramble. He actually catches me on my back, and I start freaking out because I'm sick, you know,
Right.
dehydrated. I'm like, all right, Coach Hatch, like, let me off my back. Like, I'm not feeling it. And Coach Jamal comes over. He's like, don't let him off his back. He's fine. So, I fight my back once. He turns me again because I'm dead tired. And I'm like, all right, seriously, this time, like, I'm sick. Like, just let me off my back. And Coach Jamal's like, don't let him off his back. So I start like freaking out.
Mhm.
I actually threw an elbow, caught him with an elbow. My body went into panic mode. He let me up. The period ended. Started walking out of the room and I actually pass out.
Mm.
I pass out, walking out of the room and I'm just laying there and everybody thinks I'm messing around. But I laid there for probably 15 seconds and I was like, oh, yeah, he's actually passed out.
Yeah.
So Jordan actually texted in our group message. He's like, Ty McGeary's first gladiator to go until he passes out. I was like, yeah. I was like, but with that sickness, and it just felt like one thing after another. Week before, I think it was week after regionals, leading up to the national tournament. I get food poisoning, can't practice for a day. Next 2 days, kind of workouts weren't the best because I was struggling with getting food in me.
Yeah.
I'm light, so definitely a lot of adversity. And going to the national tournament, I knew I wasn't 100%, but I just you gotta show up and wrestle. So that's
How
that's
did
what
you
I
keep
did.
faith that whole time? Like, and I know all those guys at West Lib call you Mr. Consistency. I talked to Coach Irwin and all this, and look at you, got a smile on your face when I
Yeah,
say that, Mr. Consistency.
I love that.
What's that mean to you? What's that nickname? Like, you obviously enjoy that. I see a smile
Yeah.
come to your face. What's that mean to you?
Um, it just means that no matter what's going on, no matter how you feel, you show up and you wrestle. You go out there and give your best effort. You might not be feeling the best, but your opponent doesn't really care. You're going out there and you're going to battle. You're going to war no matter what. So just trying to put those feelings aside and get focused in. And even if you're not feeling the best, just wrestling your match. But all the glory to God. He helps me wrestle at peace. He helps me have fun with the sport. I know once I started wrestling for him, wrestling to glorify his name, I started having more fun, being less anxious. And with that comes, you're not getting as tired because you're not worried about the outcome. You're just worried about scoring points. So,
Love that. Love that. All right. National tournament.
yep.
Okay. All this craziness happens. We just discussed all that. I mean, you go down the list, laundry list of stuff you had happen: mono, ankle, food poisoning, all this craziness. You get to the national tournament. How'd you like your spot in the bracket when you get there? Because I remember
Um,
talking to Coach Irwin at Whitfields about it, and I was like, "We'll see."
Honestly, I don't really remember my spot.
Yeah,
I knew I had what it took to beat everyone, so I didn't really care
love that.
where I ended up. I was already mad that I lost in region. So he told me I'd be 2 or 3 seed. So I knew I would have Beamer in the semis no matter what, which would be redemption for me. So I was happy with where I was at, but it didn't really matter to me. But first match, go out there and I'm not feeling the best.
Yeah,
For me, I wanted to go out there and score team points. I wanted to go out there and help us get a team trophy. And I realized after the first period that wasn't going to happen. So kind of just wrestled my match, came out with a close win. And I remember walking up to the stands, talking to my girlfriend first, Rocky. I remember just saying like, that was bad. Like I'm not feeling good. I know
right.
I'm not where I need to be to win this tournament. And I'm just thankful for the support from my brother, from my girlfriend. I'm telling me like, listen, it was one match. Like, let's just get refocused, get more food in you.
Yeah,
Just keep your head right. Rocky kept telling me, keep your head right. Like we've done this a million times before. Like, and then got to the next match, feeling a little better. Another close win, getting to the semis, and kind of just building from there. Every match was feeling better and better. Every match more and more confident.
no doubt.
And then that leads to my semis match against Beamer, who I lost to 2 weeks before, which definitely one I was nervous for, just with the style matchup. He's kind of crazy. He likes to move around a lot.
Yeah,
So I was a little nervous with that. But I went out there, wrestled my match. I was just staying in good position because I knew he had the blast double, so I wasn't gonna let him get it. So I was just kind of wrestling my match and wrestling smart. I didn't want to get tired off the beginning. I didn't want to waste energy. So just stay in good position. I think at one point in the second period, caught a nice takedown on the edge and got two. And from there, I was just focused on riding. I was focused on staying on top and tiring him out.
So was that the match? I was talking to your old man after he was driving home, and he said you told him that you were like had like an out of body experience. said like, this cannot be going any better than where I'm at right now.
Yeah, I think
Don't screw this up.
I think it was end of the second. I'm on top. I think I'm up 3-1. I'm almost out of minute riding time, and yeah, you kind of just leave your body, and you're like, I wish the match would end right now. I mean,
Right.
I'm in the perfect position. If I mess this up, I'm gonna regret it for the rest of my life. But just stuck to my ride. Returned him a couple times. I think he eventually got out, and I knew he was going to come at me because he needed to score. So right off the bat, I just hit a slick high crotch, finished quick, and from there I was just cruising on top and thought the match was over with about 30 seconds left. Beamer's head was in the mat. I was just riding on top. Ref calls me for stalling. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I was like, whatever. It's one stalling call. He gets up again, gets to the edge, calls me again. I'm like, okay, like that's a bit weird, but
Right.
we got points to give. 10 seconds left on our feet. I back up, calls me again. I'm like, hold up, like
3 and 30 seconds.
I'm like, this is a tie match now. Like I got riding time,
Yeah.
but without the riding time, it's a tie match. I'm like, I can't take another step back or he's gonna call me again. So
Right.
ended up pulling it off. It took me a second afterwards just to make sure I won it, but with the riding time point, I won 6-5. So just a great feeling because I always came up short in the semis. I never made it to state finals. Never really was in the finals of any big tournament. So just that accomplishment was really big for me.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. What did you do differently the following year, this year that we're talking about, to come out on top of the mountain? You seemed so much more relaxed this year. Maybe that was an act for all of us, which we do appreciate, but you just seem to really have a lot of fun out there this year.
Yeah. Kind of just going back to having my faith in God.
Yeah.
I'm there to glorify his name. He already knows what's going to happen. He knows the outcome, and just learn to have fun with the sport.
I love that.
It's fun to score points. But yeah, all the glory to him. He allowed me to go out there, and some of it was an act. Definitely in the national finals, it was an act because I was freaking out a little bit walking out of that tunnel.
Yeah.
Don't even remember much of the match, but
yeah. So let's talk about that. I mean, you win a national championship. How do you even put that into words?
it's really hard to. I set a really high standard for myself, and I watching all the national finals growing up, watching people win. I always want to go out there and dominate and score points. I knew I wasn't in the position to do that with how I was feeling,
Mm.
so um, it's just hard to describe. I remember going to overtime. I knew I wasn't gonna be able to score a lot, and this guy was very good defensively. But once I got into overtime, I knew I was gonna win. I was comfortable in overtime. I remember so many practices just when I'm tired, just picturing this moment, picturing one more takedown just over and over and over again. So when I got in the finals, I got into overtime, like it was just another practice for me, to be honest. I wasn't really even nervous. I knew. Awesome.
Rocky, come on, buddy. Dude, I'm pumped that you're here. My golf partner. Shout out. Let's go.
Shout out Nate Hall.
Shout out Nate Hall, the foursome, the fearsome foursome. We're just missing Nate. We're gonna see you this weekend, brother. I can't wait to see you. Dude, what was it like? First of all, you had the most. Your Instagram post was unbelievable. You started off, "A little delusion goes a long way." Incredible line. Talk about it.
Yeah, I just remember like me and Ty when we were kids, like we were throwing football around, like shooting basketball, and it was always for some kind of title. And I never really thought that was like a real thing. And then I remember Ty growing up, like he just always thought he could win.
Yeah.
And, like I feel like I was just a little too smart, and I was like, "But can we?" But like Ty always thought he could win, and like, he was always sure about it. And like I never saw him falter in that attitude. And I think like that's like when he was in the finals, and I was just like, Ty always thinks he can win, and like that, like he was saying, like the pressure he was feeling, like his opponents were feeling the same thing. But I just knew, like growing up with him, that like that attitude that was from when we were kids was gonna
love that. I mean, when I saw that, I honestly, as an older brother, I teared up because I've seen my brother do big things. Same thing. What was the scene like in the stands? Your old man, the crowd, Jordan, like the rest of the crew, the cooks, they're all there. They see one of our childhood friends, one of your childhood friends, your brother. I see goosebumps on your leg. Talk about it.
Yeah, so like we got in the well, first off, like there was like a 3-hour break, and I was like, I'll be
Oh,
fine. Like I'll
yeah.
go back to the hotel, chill out. I was just like having a mental breakdown because like how I overcome like the anxiety is like I can like map out how Ty wrestles, and I'm like, well, this might happen and this might happen, and I'll accept it.
Right.
And I'm like talking to my girlfriend, I'm like, I didn't think about this. Like this, like, you know what I mean? Like I didn't get that far yet. So I'm like freaking out a little bit. So we like get in the arena, and I think Garrett Cook and Danny Cook are up in the rafters, and they're watching Ty Waters and Sean wrestle at States in the finals, and Nico Taddy. I was like, I'll go up there with them. And then like I liked being so far away from it because like I was freaking out a little bit.
Mhm.
So I just stayed up there, and you know, I wish you were a little skinnier because watching all those matches, I was like, oh God, this is horrible.
Trust me, I was in the back. I was freaking out for it felt like 2 hours. But I felt the same way.
And like my dad's freaking out, and my sister's freaking out, and his girlfriend Chloe's freaking out. I'm like, I'm going up in the rafters because Denny and Garrett, they watched like
Alec, in their own little world, right?
Yeah, they watch Alec All American. They're chilling. Like Alex, like in his clothes.
Shout
like,
out Alec Cook. What was it like? What was it like for you guys watching him All American?
It was awesome. We honestly battled every day in that room. Me, Alec, Coach Hatch, just going to war. So it was awesome to see him kind of come out on top. Even just make it to nationals, he was pumped. But just put together the run he did. Yeah. I remember before my one match, I was like, Christian, did Alec win? He's like, no, he lost. And I was like, all right, like that sucks, but I gotta get ready for my match.
Yeah.
Walking out to the tunnel, Alex fist bumping on the way back. I'm like, Christian, like, what are you doing? I looked at him. He's like, what? And then I guess Alec defensive pinned this kid. So I was like, okay. I was like, let's go, Alec. But I had to wrestle a match, so I got focused right away. But it was awesome to see him put together the run he did.
Very, very cool. So you get back, you guys win the national championship, Ty. What was it like for you when you heard that you got the most dominant wrestler?
It was cool. I wasn't thinking about it at first. I remember Jake Ely was in the run for it. I think he was first or second.
Yeah. Ramo boy.
Yes, sir. He pinned his first 2 kids, or he got bonus points or something. And I was like, well, there goes that thing.
Right.
I'm not getting that because I was 100% expecting him to win it. So I wasn't thinking about it until the very end. I was sitting down there waiting for the champions picture, and I was sitting there with Coach Tamak, and he's like, yeah, you might have a chance for this. I was like, are you serious? I was like, I see him give out a couple awards, and I was like, that looks pretty sick. Like, I really hope I win that. And then, it comes time for that award, and they call my name, and I was like, all right, like, that's cool. So, like, I wasn't really worried about it. Wasn't thinking about it. But after I got it, I was like, that's kind of a sick award to have.
That's very cool, dude. I mean, to put in the words, I don't even know, to get the most dominant wrestler, that's pretty cool. I mean, you look at, this is camp season, right? Every single flyer you're on, the 2 most dominant wrestler.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
It feels pretty good to put on the posters and stuff.
Absolutely. Rocky, what was it like when you heard that? Like, my brother's kind of a badass.
I mean, I know, like, I beat him up my whole life. And one day I wake up and I'm 16 and he's beat me in everything. And I'm like, of course he beats up everyone because I'm a tough guy and he beats me up.
Yeah, love that. That's great. So moving on, you guys talk about the team. You're at there. Did you guys place with the team championship there or a team trophy?
We took 6th, so we did not get a team trophy this year.
All right. So what was it like when you saw your dad for the first time? Because you said you were up in the rafters, so you weren't like too close to your dad and the craziness. What was it like when you saw them?
Well, like when he got the takedown and put his hands up, like, I was just crying. And like I had to gain consciousness there for a little bit. And I come down and like my sister, my dad, they're just crying. My grandparents are crying. And it was just like a euphoric feeling of like it finally happened and we're all here. So yeah, I mean, it was just a lot of crying, a lot of hugs.
Surreal, right?
The Cook family's hugging us all. It's just like,
Danny Cook didn't give you a hug, did he?
Oh yeah, he hugged me big.
No way.
Danny Cook gave out a hug.
Yeah, I mean,
was there a tear though from Danny Cook?
Nah, he's not that soft yet.
We've got 10 more years to soften him up before he gets that point. So you see that, and what was like the after celebration like? You guys go back to the hotel. Did you guys have a good time? Like, what was it like just enjoying the moment of winning, watching Ty win and achieve his dreams?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he knows what it's like, but when we have these high goals for ourselves and you don't succeed at the end of the year, like, you have this feeling like, man, I got to go back and like regroup and attack. And it was just like, wow, like we get to celebrate. Like we were sitting there like, what food do you want? Like, what are you guys doing tonight? Like,
Good question. What did
Yeah.
you eat after you won a national championship, Ty?
Chipotle and
Of course.
crumble cookie.
You are so much like my brother. It's not even funny. Shout out Nate Hall. That's probably what he would add. I love that.
No,
Chipotle.
it is crazy though. Every year just after the tournament thinking I did this wrong, I did that wrong.
Yeah.
And this year it's like I might have done things wrong, but it really doesn't matter. Like I wasn't 100%. I wanted to score more points in the national finals. I remember coming off the mat and I was to Coach Rivera. I was like, "Did I wrestle good?"
Yeah.
He's like, "What are you talking about, dude? You're a national champ. Like it doesn't matter if you wrestle good." I was like, "Yeah, I guess you're right." But I hold myself to such a high standard. It's like I just wanted to do everything perfect. I wanted to score points, but
Yeah.
it's just crazy to think about. Like it didn't matter. My mistakes didn't matter.
What was it like when you saw Rocky and your dad and your family for the first time?
It was surreal. I remember sitting there and Coach Irwin called my dad. He's like, "You guys can come meet him in the back before like the awards and stuff."
Yeah.
So they ran down. A lot of hugs, a lot of tears. Hugged my girlfriend, hugged my dad. It was just amazing that they were all there to see it. The year before I took third, I think it was just my dad, my grandparents. So just having the whole support system there, everyone that's been with me through, whether it's only 8 months with my girlfriend or my whole life with my family, just having them be there for it all. It was awesome just to hug them and to have them be there for it.
What's the first thing you said to him?
I think I was just like trying not to cry, and I just. Do you remember what I said to you?
I don't. We didn't even know what to say.
I think I was like, you freaking did it, dude. Like I looked at him, like you just did it.
We just sat
and
there.
He looked at me and he's like, yeah, like I did do it. Like it just disbelief.
We just sat there and stared at each other and we're just like we did it. Like
yeah.
There's not much. Right? There's not much to say because it's just so surreal to all the things we've been through together. It was crazy.
Talk about that brother bond. I mean, I have it with my brother, I know, but and that's why I feel like we're such good friends. We golf together, we hang out a lot. What is it like to have someone that's like you're so close with? You talk to, like, I know with my brother, I talk to him every single day. I know you two are the same way. What's that like?
It's special. To have him on my high school team, wrestling together, coming home from practice, ranting together, cutting weight together. It's special just to have someone there for you through all my downs, through all my negativity. He's there hyping me up. When he's down, I'm hyping him up. We're kind of an unstoppable force. Whatever we do together, we have a great mindset because when one person's down, one person's positive. So it's just everything we've been through, all the competition, the basketball games. I didn't win very much at the beginning, which kind of.
So you're saying you win more now?
I do win more now.
With him being big?
Yeah.
Like tall? Like
basketball is not really the thing we go to.
Okay, fair enough.
It's just a universal success.
Okay, I understand.
Yeah.
I understand.
So it's special to have someone there with you that's been through it with you.
Yeah, no doubt.
Rocky?
Yeah, like on my side, like I think it's just so cool. Like talking about this like national title and everything. Like we kind of grew up having that like same dream together. And like he said, like after he came off the mat, like we did it. And like that was what I wanted to say, but I didn't want to be selfish because like, that was like my goal. Is like I didn't really even care who won it, like whether it was me or whether it was him. Like it's just being 8 years old and having this dream. And then I was 23 years old. And it's like having that someone in your life that's on the same path as you. And like when I was wrestling bad a lot of times, he was wrestling good and vice versa. And it was just there's really no way to put it in words.
I think you just did, buddy. That was pretty good.
Yeah, it's I feel like we never really were both at our peak together. So it is tough because when I qualified for states, he missed states. When I wasn't wrestling, I was out for a year. He made it to nationals, and then here he is not wrestling when I'm winning nationals. So we kind of share our success, we share our failures. So we're just kind of a team through it all.
Love that. I think that's a really good way to finish it off. Rocky, thank you for your time, brother.
Thanks for having me, D-Hall.
Your national championship, we finished up with your brother there, which was amazing. Connor Craig tweets out something along the lines of, finally a 184 pounder gets the job done. You moved up from 174 to 184 the year prior after Connor Craig left. What was it like after? I mean, you've said multiple times on this podcast alone how many times Connor Craig beat you up in the practices and the grueling and the grind. What was it like for him to show you some love on a public forum like that?
It was nice. Didn't really show me much love through all the practices and stuff, but it was cool to see him tweet that. For me, it was kind of a redemption tour for a lot of reasons. For Connor getting that 84-pound title for West Liberty, Coach Hatch, he was runner up at that same venue at D3 the year before. He was in my corner, and just all the coaches I've had in the past that have been runner ups. My dad. There's so many people that have come up short, and just getting the win, getting the redemption for all of them, it felt really good.
Yeah. Last question I want to sneak in before I get to like our final little bit. We haven't talked about him too much. Shout out Big Rock. What was it like growing up with Big Rock as your old man?
You can never say he didn't care.
Love
Sometimes
that.
he cared too much, but at least he was there. He was with me through it all.
Mm.
Shout out to him. I'm so thankful to have him as my dad. All the trips, all the time and effort he put into me. My brother just being there, never missed a tournament, never missed a match.
Yep.
He would drive 3 hours just to watch me get a forfeit. Especially now in college, not seeing him as much, but it was just awesome to have him as a dad and have him through it all.
Love that. All right. Last couple questions I have for you before we get to rapid fire. We talked a lot about you moving and your jump from high school to college. High school, you didn't have the greatest success. College, you kind of turned the corner and you took off. What did you take? How did you make that jump? Because I love talking about that with people. The jump from high school to college is so tough. How did you make that jump? And not only make that jump, like excel while you were making that jump.
It just you put in the hard work, you get that mindset where every practice you're gonna focus on little things. And in college with Coach Irwin and with Connor, we're giving each other feel. That's one thing that's big in college. It's one thing that's big with younger wrestlers is, if you have a partner that's not gonna give you feel, you're not gonna improve anything.
Mm.
A lot of practices, I know I was getting angry at first, very frustrated early on drilling with Connor. He wouldn't let me score, wouldn't let me get takedowns when we're just drilling. But early on my sophomore year, it started paying off for me. I started getting to his leg more.
Yeah.
Actually, I started, almost scoring more, and it helped me, and then eventually it was helping him because I was doing things on him. So just building that feel, giving each other feel, and just not letting your partner really just have things, because in a match that's never going to happen.
Very fair. All right. Last question for you before we move on to our rapid fire segment of the show. Favorite near fall or pin you've ever been a part of, seen? What's your favorite near fall or pin in wrestling?
Favorite pin was probably Vincenzo versus Aymar in the national finals.
Shout out Whippy, your boy, Chenzo.
His inside heel trip to a pin. His reaction, I have it framed up in my room. I got it printed out. And just seeing that, it was kind of my motivation to win a national title. And looking back at it, my celebration was pretty similar to his, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Just the disbelief. But that definitely had a huge impact on me because, in wrestling, anything can happen. So
yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, he was a freshman taking down Aymar, so two-time national champ. I mean, that's a good one to pick there, Ty. Yeah. I think that's might be the first one. No, well, Chenzo picked that whenever I had him on, but besides that, it's pretty good. So, yeah, man, love that rapid fire segment of the show.
Let's do it.
Give me your first thought, name, or answer when comes to mind when I ask this question.
Okay.
Very first memory of wrestling.
Probably going 4-2 at a tournament, and I didn't get a trophy, and Rocky went 2-2 and got a trophy, and I just remember being very angry. I didn't understand it.
0-2. 2-0. Okay.
2-1.
2-1. A lot less wins.
I had more wins, and I didn't get a trophy. I didn't understand.
Love that. Okay. Worst day in the sport.
Spencer Lee came and ran a clinic at Gladiators, and he drilled bars for an hour and a half on me, and that was the closest I ever came to quitting wrestling.
That's fair. Greatest day in the sport.
Winning my national championship.
Obvious.
Yeah.
Toughest opponent ever.
Toughest opponent. Probably Alex Facundo or Rocky Jordan.
Okay. Do you have an arch nemesis in the sport?
Anyone that steps across from me, I guess.
Love that. Toughest practice partner.
Connor Craig, for sure.
No doubt. Biggest trash talk you've ever been in the room with.
That one's easy. Ty Waters, for sure. Because he can't really back it up. I don't think he's taken me down a single time.
Not one time.
Not that I can remember, no.
Love that. All right. How many All-Americans will West Lib have in 2024?
10.
Better golfer, you, your dad, or your brother Rocky?
I wish you would have asked me this 2 weeks ago, Donnie, because I would have said me easily. But Rocky, shout out Coach Kuhn, got my brother dialed, and he's beaten me twice in a row. So
Coach Kuhn, what's up? Coach Kuhn.
right now, Rocky.
Love that. I heard he went low today.
He went low. 38.
Couple birds on the card.
Yes, sir.
Love that. Love that. All right. Biggest influence in the sport.
Oh, there's so many. Probably Coach Tark.
Okay. Love that. Good one. All right. Will you go on and coach one day? And will it be at Gladiators?
I would love to coach one day. So yes, I do plan on coaching. Could be at Gladiators. You never know what happens in the future. I've definitely thought about it.
Yeah.
But I do plan on coaching. I love coaching. I love helping people get better at wrestling.
Love that. All right. Favorite cheat meal, favorite meal after, weighing in. What's your favorite thing to eat?
I usually eat pretty healthy during the season. After the season, probably Krispy Kreme donuts.
Just straight like Krispy Kreme?
I don't eat them during the season. I eat them after the season. But shout out D Hall. Makes great steaks, makes great burgers. If he asks you to be on the podcast, do it because he'll make you a great meal.
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate that. Those of you that are out there, you want to come on,
Yes,
get some
sir.
food. I'll take care of you. We'll have a conversation, get you some food. No doubt about that. But yeah, man. Thank you so much for coming on, hanging out. Do you have anything else, anyone else you want to shout out before I leave you go?
Shout out Coach Denny, Coach Justin, my dad, all my coaches growing up, Coach Irwin, Coach Hatch, Coach Rivera.
Love that.
My family, my mom, my dad, everyone who's been with me through it all, because I can't do it without any of you.
Good stuff. Good stuff, as
And
always.
my beautiful girlfriend.
Perfect way to end it. Thank you so much. Division II most dominant wrestler, Ty McGeary, West Allegheny alum. You know I had to end it that way. You know I had to. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Ty, my man, appreciate you hanging out.
Peace.
Later.